My original plan was to shoot a documentary about the illegal tattoo scene in South Korea. When I lived in Seoul, I noticed something strange in my neighborhood. They live between here and then, the forgotten generation. When I learned that nearly half of the over 65 years old in Korea live in poverty, I was very moved. At the same time, I was surprised because I thought the elderly are very respected in Korea. To understand their story, I began a search together with my friends.
The first time I saw it in Korea, I asked some of my friends why older people may be picking up boxes or doing this and that. And my friend told me there are two reasons for this. It's because they are trying to get extra money, because whatever they saved or whatever they earn maybe is being taken up by the medical bills, because older people go to the hospital a lot. So they are trying to just get some extra money to sustain them. And my friend also told me that some of those people, they do that just to stay active. Yeah, some of them are bored of being just in the home alone, so they try to stay active. The Korea that we see today is built by that generation, and this is a generation that was used to work. Yeah, they were used to building things, sometimes with their own hands. They were used to being active. So when old age came and all of a sudden they have to stay at home, that don't make sense to them.
Wenn man jetzt in Pension geht, kriegt man ja einen Teil vom Staat.
Ja.
Das ist ja genau das gleiche System wie in Europa auch, oder?
Ja.
Aber das war ja nicht immer so, oder?
Ich weiß nicht ganz genau, wann wir diesem Pensionssystem angefangen haben, aber ich denke, Korea war ein sehr armes Land bis 1980, denke ich. Also die Leute, die armen Leute, die alten Leute, die auf der Straße Papier sammeln, die haben noch nicht gutes Pensionssystem wie jetzt. Also jetzt haben wir auch nicht so ganz gutes System, denke ich, im Vergleich mit europäischem Standard. Aber die älteren Leute, die schon 80er Jahre alt sind, die haben noch schlechtes Pensionssystem und wegen des Kriegs konnten sie nicht so gut um sich für weitere Leben vorbereiten. Die waren einfach so beschäftigt, heute zu überleben.
할머님 성함이랑 연세?
정숙
박정자 숫자
81
81. 하루 종일 계속 일하시는 거잖아요. 그럼 하루에 몇 시간 정도?
일어나서 뭐 6시나 7시 나가요. 이면 7시 나가고 일찍 나가면 6시. 이제 해놓은 거 팔고 그러고 보니까 난 빨리 못 땡기니까 슬슬.
아 슬슬. 그리고 할머님 지금 자녀분들은 세 명. 딸 둘 하나 아들 하나.
Can I ask you if she see their kids often?
아 할머님은 그 세 분의 자녀들 자주 보세요? 얼마나 자주 보세요?
자주는 큰 딸은 이제 내가 반찬을 못하면 이거 반찬 해주니까 일주일에 한 번, 2주일에 한 번 반찬.
알겠습니다.
I have failed to build up a good connection with the forgotten generation. However, I needed to continue my search. Also in Europe, a growing number of pensioners continue to work even after their retirement. Especially in the developed countries, the poverty among the elderly has risen dramatically in recent years.
To be honest, I wasn't surprised. I didn't know what the percentage was before seeing that, but like I've heard and seen a little bit of examples of, for example, veterans in the U.S. who've served overseas and come back, and I believe there's a fairly high percentage of those veterans who are homeless. In the U.S., we used to have the gold standard, and all money was backed by an actual physical reserve of gold. And today we don't have that. It's all guaranteed by the government. So the money that people will, once they retire, that money that they will receive is a guarantee from the government. There's no actual physical money that's backing that up. Whereas if it could be a central pot the government manages, but if there was a correlation between people who earn money and the money that was actually put on account, then I think it would be more stable.
See, when I come from India, but I'm still from a tribal place in India, and Korea, when we see if you see within 50 years, today Korea stands at it has a certain level in world GDP, so now the Korean has to compete to show. If they want to keep Korea at this level, they have to compete. And the elderly people thinks that we gotta stay this way. our position today, at what we rank in the world in terms of, like the best country or a rich country. Korea stands pretty much good. And to keep that level, the younger generation has to do something. The older generation did their part.
I used to think that when I was a kid, these elders living in poverty, I thought they have made some bad decisions in their life, maybe got into gambling, drank too much, or something like that. But as I grow older, I realize a lot of these people aren't actually in the streets because it's their fault. It's just unfortunate that their lives were more difficult, and perhaps their health wasn't as good as we are, or the situation was bad. Yes, there's government support, and there's welfare and pensions. However, a lot of people still feel that it's not enough to keep them in a good stable condition, because a lot of the elders, with their age comes illness. Their physical starts to break down, and basically they need more help from their insurance and the government, and usually it's their children who help them. But some people are not fortunate enough to have a lot of kids or still in contact with their children.
In Kenya, we still have this tightness when it comes to family. What I mean by tightness is families living together. So you find a grandfather, a grandmother still living with maybe the younger son and the grandchildren. So we still have that. And most of our elderly people in Kenya don't live in the cities. They live like in our hometowns. And in the hometown, like in Kenya, we have something called Boma. So in the Boma, there's so many people living within that. And old people don't have to work. It's like the bigger family responsibility to take care of the older people. So they don't have to do any other job. Yeah.
As you can see, we're all wearing gowns, like the black cape they wear in Harry Potter, because it's a English private school. I'm right here.
What can you remember from this high school? Only the 6 months. You only have been there 6 months, but
Well, 6 months, we had to wear this brown uniform that looked like a tree. And they separate all the boys from the girls here. So we'll have like first floor all girls, second floor all boys, and we're told not to cross these boundaries. But obviously, being teenagers, we all did. And being first year generally had fun. The school hours are long, so we will have breakfast at home, go to school at around 8, and then we stay there until 10 p.m. So that's the majority of your days. You have your lunch and dinner in school, and so you really connect with your friends or whoever sits next to you. Yeah, we have some good memories. Yeah.
But was it also a quite intense time?
Yeah, intense, yes and no, because intense because of the expectations we get from our parents, family, and teachers in the society. We are supposed to study hard, get into good college, and then our lives are sorted. Well, that's the impression we got from school.
Like when it comes to Korea, like kids are not the issue. It's the mom's issue. It's the parents' issue, and that's how the parents think is. If you have a kid, I gotta send her to this institute, this private institute, this private, and to send that you need thousands of dollars a month, which makes no sense. Like they don't have that much of money, so nobody wants to have more than 1 or 2 kids, because if you have a kid, you have to send them because everyone in your community is sending there. So you have to send your kid there. Otherwise, you are like a leftover parents or a leftover kid.
Ich habe mal in einer Zeitung gelesen, man gibt Geld für Kinder von Geburt bis 20 Jahre alt, 1 Milliarden Won, das ist sehr viel, pro Kind, pro ein Kind. Daher, das ist auch sehr teuer, daher kann sein, das kann auch ein großer Grund sein, warum die Paar kein Kind haben möchte. Oder die möchten auch für sich selbst noch was unternehmen. Oder wir können einfach nicht leisten, das Kind können wir einfach nicht leisten, wegen des teuren Wohnungs und so weiter, Bildungssystem.
In the day, it's not just about the money they spent, a long time in their life, giving up everything to spend time with us and raising us. So, in that way, I feel like I should be thankful and pay them back. But also because they have spent a lot of money in my education and they have not saved anything for themselves. Like they put it all in me and my brother's education mostly. Even though Korean schools are free from elementary to high school, the math grind, the English grind in between, and me studying abroad, that had a huge financial impact on them. But they felt it was needed, and perhaps in a way it was an investment for us, but also for them in the future.
My dad doesn't currently have plans for retirement, and I would say it's not because maybe he couldn't. I don't know the details of the situation. Most Americans don't talk about that.
Okay, so it's also a non-topic in a way.
Right, it's considered one of those things you don't talk about, even among family. But I've heard that many people in the U.S. It's not just something I've heard. It's something that you can see. If you don't have enough money saved up yourself for retirement, then you have to keep working, because the government Social Security is a very small piece of retirement. It's not enough to live on in most cases. So if you don't have enough of your own savings for retirement, you're going to keep working. And most people in the U.S. probably work into their 60s. If they're in good health, they might work into their 70s. And so, I mean, this is a fact in the U.S. right now.
That's quite a...
At the same time, I don't know if there's positive and negative elements to it. A negative element would be if you have a very demanding job and you're not able to retire, because once you are more advanced in age, once you get into a place where you're physically not able to keep up and you don't have a choice, I'd say that's a bad thing. However, if people don't have purpose after they retire, that's also a bad thing. They say that most people, if they don't have meaning in life, and they've retired and they don't have anything to focus on, it's usually a few years before they pass away. And so you want to allow people to still have meaning. And many people get that through work. Whether that's a good or bad thing, that's another discussion. But for people who are able to continue working, if they have a job that's not physically demanding, that's not mentally stressful, I don't think that's a bad thing either.
When applying for pensions in Korea, widows are supported only by the state if their children have a low income or if they no longer maintain contact with their children. Because they don't want to be a burden to their children, many decide to break their connection. A contract of loneliness. The outside world sees the forgotten generation as ghosts of the past. Many affected people cannot bear this isolation any longer and see only one way out.
Also die älteren Leute haben gar keinen Kontakt mit anderen. In moderner Gesellschaft, also anonyme Gesellschaft, die haben keinen Kontakt mit Nachbarn. Also Nachbarn wissen das nicht, wer gestorben ist. Daher, die werden erst eine Woche nachher entdeckt, nach dem Tod.
The main issue here is that the government doesn't look at these elderlies as part of their society. It's like they look at them as a redundant part of their business called Korea. and that's why they're so neglected, not just by the government, but also for society and the youth.
Today's kids, like if you see today's like 20s 30s kids, they would make fun of, like, if you I don't want to be a box speaker, they're like kind of mocking to these ladies, but I don't believe and I don't agree with that, because it's not about this old lady who don't get food. She can sit home and get food because she has a pension or whatever the country has for her. But then, like, she knows she worked hard to bring this country to this level, and like today she still wants to work hard, no matter nobody wants to give her a job or whatever. She wants to work hard, though she's poor or rich. She doesn't care about about that.
I don't know, like there's a lot of things that I see in Korea that tells me that maybe the society is just, this is my opinion, okay? Society is kind of used to kind of separating people based on like age group and all that. For instance, you go to the subway, you find sections just for the older people. So these kind of things, they are very small, but they send an image to younger people. Like if you have a section for just old people, it means to young people that when someone gets to that age, they should be in their section, and I stay in my own section. These are things that if you travel by subway, you see it. Some buses have seats that have the sign for old people. So as a young person, you don't sit there. So these kind of things create distance, and that's why maybe a lot of young Koreans are not interested in being part of any process that is making story out of this. They're kind of afraid of how the rest of the society will react to it. Like story making is about being convictional with your story. So if you make a conviction that the public is going to use to judge you, then it could go wrong for your career, especially if you're a Korean. So maybe that's why a lot of young Koreans are not interested in this story. It's a very dangerous thing. You may say something that may turn everybody against you, but they need to look at these segregations within themselves. I think Korea has done a lot of segregation within itself. Like if you have a section for old people and for young people, that's so wrong. In my country, everybody is mixed up. When you go to the bars, old people sitting next to young people, everything is so mixed up. We don't have section for old people, for young people, for women. No. You move into a hall, you sit wherever you want. You take a public train, you sit wherever you want. I think it's important that people just get mixed up. That way, you feel like a problem for this class is your problem as well. And if I was a young Korean, looking at what older people are going through, especially those going through hard times, I would be very worried. Because when you see an old person, you're literally looking at yourself 50 years from now. So if they're going through something that is so bad, that should scare me. I should ask myself, is this how I'll live 50 years from now? So yeah.
Wenn ein Frosch in ganz heiß gekochtes Wasser reintun, dann springt das Frosch sofort auf, weil es zu heiß ist. Aber wenn man einen Frosch in den Topf mit dem kalten Wasser reintun und wenn das Topf wird geheizt und das Wasser geht dann langsam heißer und am Ende ganz heiß, ein Frosch spürt das nicht, daher stirbt der Frosch im Wasser. Das habe ich, dieses Sprichwort oder das falsches Sprichwort habe ich für unsere gesellschaftliche Probleme anwenden. Ich denke, wir sind schon mit diesen älteren Leuten, die Papier sammeln, sind wir schon daran eingewöhnt. Daher, ich bin niemals daran tief nachgedacht. Also ich habe gedacht, das ist schon sehr schade, schon arm, ich würde sie helfen. Aber ich habe nicht daran gedacht, dass wir das irgendwie ändern können oder das ist irgendwie falsch.
More and more people are falling into poverty with old age. At the same time, we are living much longer thanks to our medical care. How can we counter elderly poverty?
To your question about how do you provide for people who are elderly, it goes beyond money. One thing that you mentioned earlier was healthcare being a big component of taking care of the elderly, because one of their biggest expenses is paying for medicine and maybe paying for hospital visits. So I think if we want to be able to provide for them, it's not just a matter of finding more money, because treatments and medicine is getting more expensive and it's not keeping up with inflation. So even if we do put more money in the system, that won't solve our crisis. So I think part of finding a solution is to figure out how to streamline a healthcare system so that we can provide for people. One way to look at it is how can we provide services and reduce the costs of providing those services. When I was going to university, I received some financial support from the federal government, and that was not directly handed to me as money. It was actually handed to me as money that I could earn, but I had to work for myself. So in the form of earning the money that would help pay for my education, I had to find a job, and that job was either supporting my university or actually helping other students. I chose to work off campus at a middle school, helping out students who are struggling in math. And so I was actually contributing to the community while receiving money from the government. So that could be one model that could work for example, medical students who usually have huge bills. The government could set up a system where we could provide low-cost care to people who are older, while also helping more students enter the medical profession.
think, I don't know, but something is missing in between because, like, you know, when I did my education, I jumped from class, like, I did my kindergarten and I went to grade 1. After grade 1, I jumped straight to grade 5. You know, I jumped to grade 5. And
That's possible?
in my school, yes. So when I was in grade 10, it was like I struggled in mathematics because I didn't had the fundamentals of the roots of mathematics. You know, you need formulas and all those things, and I really had to struggle a lot. And like eventually after high school, I had to give up mathematics. So it would be same thing with Korea. Like, you know, if the younger generation don't have that, if they jump like me from grade 1 to 5th grade, eventually they're gonna end up having trouble or they have to give up. So, you know, like what Korea stands today, the older people did their part. It was a different era, it was a different situation, but then I don't think that worked with these people. They should think and see how and where they want Korea to be or their people group to be.
I still feel that it's going to be very difficult to make people care. If for now there was, you know, someone's parent or someone's friend, then you can try to involve them in. But if it's a total stranger who lives in a different city, in a different world, it's hard to get involved in. But I do feel that when I was in elementary school, we had to fill out certain hours during our studies. We had to do certain hours of public service, like for example, we brought some charcoal to poor homes, for giving them up for free, or like there was a service where the milkman would kind of take care of the elderly by checking in the mail if they have drank their milk or not. So because they don't have a lot of visitors, they're very secluded, so to keep an eye on them. So if you get the youth, the young kids involved in this and let them be aware that these elders exist, because we don't see them every day, you know, it's a complete different world to the young and even people like us. So let them experience and be aware that they exist. I think that would help to raise awareness than just advertising on the news that the rates are increasing in number.
don't have a lot of this story being handled by the Korean media. Like personally, I've been here for 5 years now. I have never seen this story aired by a Korean media or a Korean filmmaker or documentary. I have not seen it yet. I've seen one, but it was directed by someone from outside Korea. So, but I think every story in the society is important and should be told. And this story too, I think it should be told because it's something that's happening, and I think Koreans need to know more about it, and the world also need to know about it. Because I think in the development as it goes on in one country, we keep on learning from each other. Maybe having old people in this kind of situation is a byproduct of an economy that rose up so fast. And for me, coming from a country that is still growing, I'm from Kenya. Kenya still has a lot of challenges to go through. And by the time it will get to the level of Korea, maybe there's something we can learn from them. So if we can know about this story happening and why it's happening, maybe it can be avoided in my country or some other countries that are developing right now. Yeah.
In Korea, like in other countries, the focus is on the younger generations. Is it possible to create our future where it also includes the ever-growing number of ancient generations?